So,
we good to go?
Yeah.
All right, coolio. Well, good morning, everybody. Hi. Thank you for making it out. I know it is the crack of dawn on Friday, but you know what the best way to start off an anime con is? A history class. Everybody loves it. So on that note, welcome to Anime Sites from Yesteryear.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow!
So, who are we and why are we doing
Alright,
this?
so I am Samantha Ferreira, Editor-in-Chief of Anime Herald and part-time anime historian, and this is the always amazing RedBubble.
Hi, I'm Kennedy. Some of you may know me as RedBubble. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about anime and anime accessories. I don't really, I never really know how to tell people what my channel is, but we both have business cards up here at the front if you're interested in learning more all the same.
All right, so why are we doing this panel, Kennedy?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that, but I'm going to try. So, the cool thing about fandom is that, like online fandom specifically, is that there is kind of a traceable history. And that's the cool thing about history. To really understand how we are where we are now, you really have to understand the past. So that's why we're talking about anime communities online from yesteryear. It's really cool to look back on it, understand the history. It gives you a lot of context for the way online fandom is today, and also, honestly, it's just kind of cool. It's just kind of interesting, and we're old, so it's also nostalgic, so.
Can confirm, I'm 2 years from the nursing home. And I mean, really, to get started, it all started with a wreck dot. Because in late 1987, college student Ann Schubert launched what would become known as Recta Anime. At the time, they were debating between Recta Animation or Recta Japanimation. Japanimation was completely out because of the 80s and people were putting a lot of emphasis on that first syllable. And animation was a bit too long, so I went with Robert Fenelon's suggestion of using Recta Anime. And the first discussions of that, major discussions, focused around the popular discourse of the time, so Robotech, Star Blazers, Ballad Planets. And this was really nothing short of revolutionary because it brought fans together outside of pen palettes, outside of clubs. The first time in history you could just post your trash opinions to someone from San Diego from the comfort of your home or library or university in New York. And that really allowed us to just build up the entire community for several years. For about 3 to 4 years, we saw companies launch. We saw, ADV actually announced their opening, and AnimeGo announced their opening on Recta Anime. And that all led up to the advent of 1991 with the interwebs, aka the World Wide Web, or, you know, that thing that we just mashed Mastodon.com into now. And this was actually invented by a person that worked at CERN, you know, that company that made the Large Hadron Collider, that split our timeline into the bad one.
Some of you may also know them as the villains of Steins Gate, so.
Yeah. Don't worry, they're good. Some people in black suits are going to come in about 5 minutes and just take us away. Then you won't remember a damn thing. But from this, we were actually able to make the internet user-friendly more than anything. It allowed us to actually, visualize websites instead of just having text on fields. It was web pages, images, graphics. And after a while, eventually, web pages. So instead of typing in like 255.1.3. You know, that you got from an internet phone book, you could type in www.animeherald.com. It has all happened by the glorious year of 1990. I'm going to be passing something out. These are relics in the past. You can keep them if they want. I prefer to keep them because they have a tendency to multiply. Oh, we got no audio.
Oh. Don't forget to grab your phone or the mic will, yeah.
Of year of 2002.
Don't use all your free dial-up in one place now.
You get a whole 1,000 hours in some cases.
Wow! The future is amazing.
And this actually gave way to the evolution of Usenet in some ways. The message board, which were originally just freestanding. They were the first freestanding communities outside of Usenet. And originally they were similar to a mailing list. You post something, you would email everyone on the list, and people would, they'd see your wonderful take about how Deathlock was awful or something, and, write up a 500-word screed about it. Until eventually it just started shifting over to that hierarchical model that we know today, or some people know today if they're old enough. Where you have like the nested subforums and things like that. And these new communities actually became a big source of unity for a lot of people, where people to this day still fondly remember being members of these communities. Notably like Toon Zone, Anime Drum, and it's still standing, but and it allowed for more exploration of niche communities. So you'd have things like, say, video game role-playing boards. You'd have things like RPG boards, Robotech boards, Starblaze boards, the Slayers boards. And that allowed people to just interact and explore with a wider lens of fandom that just would have been impossible just a couple of years beforehand. And as part of that World Wide Web explosion, we got what a lot of people adore and remember now, Geocities, where BHI, a web hosting and development company, originally launched in 1994. As part of their marketing shtick, as part of their whole raison d'etre, they built up a web directory, not a search engine, a web directory where you go there and they would categorize websites by neighborhoods. So you'd have all your stuff related to anime in Tokyo. You'd have everything related to games in Times Square and so forth. And by mid-1995, the organization had actually come up with a novel idea of allowing its users to build a 2-megabyte website, a whole 2 megabytes, to do whatever they want. It was their space. They'd have what was called a street address in their terms. So you could say, I was at, say, Times Square /K/498. That's your street address. And it allowed for a lot of free expression, a lot of sampling of various online, skills, and just allowing people to express themselves in ways that had not been seen before. Fair warning, my original Geocities website is among those 4. You can point and laugh at it.
Ha ha! Ha ha! You were cringe once.
I was cringe 20 years ago. And Geocities was actually bought out in 1999 by Yahoo in a deal valued at $3.57 billion. They were the largest online website at the time with more than 3.5 million subsites under their branding. And Yahoo actually became a very good steward of this, running them until 2009. So a good 10 years of people just building, sharing, evolving, and just creating their own online subculture of its own. Unfortunately, they did close on October 29, 2009, outside Japan. They actually ran Geocities Japan for another 10 years. They literally just closed this thing 4 years ago. And by the time that first Geocities closing, the worldwide outside Japan one had gone through, there were more than 38 million web pages under their purview. It was the largest service in internet history, and probably the best indicator of our ephemeral internet fandom, because a lot of that just went bye-bye once they closed down. a lot of groups are trying their hardest to archive what little exists right now, but it's never going to be a full picture, unfortunately. And along with this, along with Geocities, you end up with a number of competitors like Zoom, AngelFire, Tripod. I mean, everyone knew these sites back then, especially that delightful AngelFire no hot linking image that people used to love. And this was incredibly important for the growth of anime fandom because it allowed for a major democratization of information. It gave control to the users. It allowed people to not only just express information, but allowed people to discover new fandoms. Because you could just type in, say, geocities.com/Times Square/ whatever, and then just a random number, it would take you somewhere. Sometimes you'd find something genuinely horrifying. But sometimes you find something really cool, like, say, Oh My Zelgoddess, or the site of someone who just wanted to list the 151 Pokemon over there. Back when there were only 151. And to catalog all this, they needed someone to do that. They needed a service to do that. And that person was J. Fubler Harvey, who founded AnimePeek, Anime Web Turnpike, in 1995. This became the destination for anime fans in I want to say outside of Japan. This is one of the most culturally significant sites in anime fandom for online weebs. And J. Fubler Harvey actually founded this as almost a side hobby. I actually talked to Harvey last year, and he mentioned that last year he taught himself HTML, and he set out to build a list of fan subbers because most of them were still posting to Usenet, and he wanted to put this out into something that could be a bit more readable, more shareable. So he reached out to various fan subbers and asked, "Hey, can I share this?" And they all said, "Yeah, sure." So he put it together and posted it to Usenet as just a unified list. And someone asked him, "Can I put this on my website?" Which got the gears turning. So he built, originally it was a fan subber list, but he started taking applications from various fans from the community for their websites. And he would vet these manually and by hand. At his peak, he was doing 600 websites a week. He had personally vetted over 100,000 websites by the time AnimePeek closed its doors. Well, it still exists, but not in the same form. But by the time they stopped doing the AnimePeek as we know it. But during that period, AnimePeek was the vital source for new information. If you want to know if there was a new fan subgroup, you come here. You want to know if a new voice actor page went up, you come here. You want to see the latest Geocities cringe, you come here.
It's seriously hard to overstate just how big and important AnimePeek was. We could honestly, there's enough information on it out there that if we wanted to, we could dedicate a whole panel toward it. If you leave this panel only remembering like one site, like this is the one to remember.
I mean, seriously, someone could write a book about this stuff and still not be done.
Someone should write a book about that.
I know, totally.
It's a joke because she's writing that book.
All right. Yeah, I am definitely writing a book. Still going with that. Unfortunately, J. Fubler Harvey did burn out, unfortunately, and the AnimePeek as we know it is just relegated to the Internet Archive at this point. Now, in 1998, we started to see the rise of anime news sites. In particular, the first mainstream anime news site outside of Anime News Service, which was more of like a wire feed, was AnimeOnDVD.com. Chris Beveridge, a local legend who used to come to AB every single year and host a panel here, by the way, total sweetheart, launched in March 1998 with his first news article being about new title acquisitions from Image Entertainment. And he actually made a name for himself for his highly technical reviews that looked into the various equipment setups and issues inherent to the DVD format that could affect anime DVDs. And he earned a very, very potent reputation as a straightforward reviewer who people could easily trust. And his news articles were known for being short, to the point, without any real fluff or background. It was just a little tiny blurb. And on top of that, though, in the years following that, the site gained a very, very active following because this would be the if you know kind of hangout for a lot of industry insiders. So you'd see people like, say, Chad Kine, David Williams, John Cerabella hang out in their forums just shooting a breeze and talking about stuff they're doing. So it really did become a hub for insider information before, ahead of when things would kind of hit, if you knew what you were paying attention to. And I should note, this AnimeOnDVD launched 4 months ahead of AnimeNews Network, which launched in July 1998. Justin Savakis, who you may know as the guy from Discotech Media, founded AnimeNews Network on July 27th, 1988. And I actually talked with Savakis.
88.
Sorry, 98. It's too early.
It's the morning.
It's the morning. It's 9:16 a.m. I'm tired. I actually talked to Savakis though, and according to him, he wanted to have a source that was reliable news because up until that point, up until Chris was up and running, up until ANN had launched, a lot of your news came from Usenet because a lot of your industry partners were not so forthcoming with information. So you play this game of telephone where someone would say, well, I heard someone at the SFCon say this, this, and this, and by the end of the other thing, it's going to say something like, I don't know, like ADV Films said they're going to be dubbing everything like Pokemon Purple Monkey Dishwasher. And he actually left the site after a couple of years, entrusting it to Christoph McDonald and his team. And McDonald actually grew this to become what we all call the internet's most trusted news source, trademark. But no, really, they were Sci-Fi Channel's 2004 website of the week, which saw explosive growth after that, after people kind of realized what this was. They acquired Protoculture Addict magazine, the longest running anime magazine in the country, in the world at that time, outside of Japan.
We got a couple right here. We got one from before ANN got them and one from after ANN got them. I'm not gonna pass them around, but
they're kind of fragile.
They're kind of fragile. But I did think it'd be cool if y'all could. I had these laying around, so you know. Props.
In 2005, they bought Protoculture Addict and ran it for several issues.
This is the first one that they got actually right here. As you can see at the top here, you don't have this in the old ones, but there's a little stripe across the top saying AnimeNews Network Presents, and then in the front, suddenly the credits section gets a lot bigger, and it's full of a lot of
full color stuff.
Yeah.
Which was very rare at the time.
Well, there's not a lot of full color in this one not this one specifically. This one is still
classic style.
Mostly black and white, which was typical for them. There is some color, but you know.
Yeah, they ran it until issue 98, I believe, so they ran it for quite a while.
Yeah, and that was in 2008?
Yeah, they finally sent the last one in 2008 or 2009, just as the industry was crashing down.
Yeah, I remember it was after New Type USA.
Yeah.
But
it was while the industry was crashing down, they closed it down just because, they couldn't keep it going. But, yeah, sometime in the last decade, Bin and Namco purchased some minor stake in them. And on November 1st, 2022, oh my god, it's 2023. I just had an existential moment. They were purchased, the remaining shares were, the company was purchased by Japanese publishing giant Kadokawa. And we have to note here, ANN is still fully independent, despite what the rumors state. They are still running their newsroom as they always have. Their staff has not changed. It's still the Anime News Network that we know and love from the past 20-something years. I mean, you still have the same features, the same coverage.
Same people.
Yeah, you still have AnimeNews Nina trying to convince people that Miyuki poops candy.
All right. Oh, I heard someone in the audience say, "Ah, yes." So we've reached that point of the panel where we have to talk about fanfiction.net. Be honest, how many of y'all had a fanfiction account? It's okay, we're all cringe here. Yeah. You still do?
I still post. You are a legend.
Wow. So let me set the stage a bit for the rise of fanfiction.net. So before fanfiction.net, it's not like fanfiction didn't exist and nobody was sharing it. You know what I mean? It wasn't just something people were, writing down in their school notebooks and then not sharing anywhere. Like, obviously before the internet, people were sharing it via like fanzines and stuff like that. But even after the internet came up, like especially, like even on sites we've been talking about on this panel, people would post their fan fictions like to a bunch of these sites. But there wasn't like a comprehensive like area like solely dedicated to the posting and sharing of like fan fictions from any like fandom, because like a lot of these other sites would be like, here's my site dedicated to like just this one fan fiction, or here's a site dedicated to just my many Gundam Wing fan fictions. It was generally divided by stuff like that. But fanfiction.net, which was founded in 1998 by a programmer named Jing Lee, was finally like trying to put it all in one place. And because of that convenient location, it had a review system, it had a favorite system, it had a forum, it had all these cool features that just made it easier than ever to post and find and talk about fan fiction, which meant it got really big and really popular really fast. To this day, a lot of the fan fictions that are today considered to be among the best, the worst, or the most famous, a lot of them were originally posted to fanfiction.net because it did just have so much control over the fanfiction market, as it were. The most, arguably the most prominent example being, I'm sure by now many of us know that 50 Shades of Grey was originally a Twilight fic. If you didn't already know that, have I got a fun fact for you? But yeah, 50 Shades of Grey was originally a Twilight fic about Bella and Edward called Master of the Universe, and it was originally posted to fanfiction.net. It is not there anymore, but it was once there. And speaking of things that were no longer there, a lot of things that were once there are no longer there. There is an untold number of fics that have been deleted. Some people guess that it's somewhere in the thousands. I've seen other people guess that it's somewhere in the tens of thousands. It's really hard to say because in 2002 and 2012, they did some pretty widespread crackdowns that encompassed things from choose your own adventure fics to anything with adult content. It really ran the full gamut. Decisions were confusing, infuriating. There was a big lack of transparency. It's a whole can of worms that it's its own panel, really. But suffice to say, especially in I think 2012 was the one that really cemented it for people. It just people went elsewhere after a while because fanfiction.net was just getting too draconian about everything. DeviantArt was a really big place for people to move, certainly in the 2000s. And then, of course, once AO3 hit the scene, I think to this day that's the biggest one. I'm pretty sure. If there's a bigger fan fiction platform out there than AO3, I don't know about it. But yeah.
And that brings us to also in 1998, we had the rise of the Toon Zone forums, which was originally a Warner Brothers animation forum. It was founded by Brian Cruz, Eileen Douglas, Del Galdillo, It's Too Early, and Colin Fetter. And this became known as a quote-unquote gated community. It was a very niche community, particularly the Toonami board, where this became a very very widely trafficked place to the point where they had people from Toonami doing AMAs there. They had voice actors popping in to see what's up. It was basically just basically the secondary Adult Swim forums for some people, and this actually got to the point where they got shouted out by Adult Swim bumpers, which I've actually talked to a few of the moderators, and they said this was their moment of vindication. Because this was something that was absolutely like mind-blowing to them, to be recognized not only by the company that they adore, but also on national TV in what people people credit the Adult Swim bumpers. However, the Toonzone forums kind of sort of still exists.
Kinda. So they got renamed to Anime Superhero in 2018, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all the details, but it's my understanding that especially in the past couple of years, the site has experienced a lot of downtime. Like earlier this week when we were working on the slideshow, I remember I went on to, I think it was their Twitter account or something, and they posted about maybe coming back online this week, partially, and there were people in the replies being like, oh, finally, you've been down for like 2 or 3 months. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand the intricacies of what's going on, but
they are not okay.
They are hanging by a thread. They are hanging by a thread. They are determined.
Yeah, I give them credit for the grit. Even if they're up for like a few hours every 2 months, they're trying.
And speaking of sites that are hanging by a thread, let's talk about LiveJournal. So, in a time before social media, like the phrase social media was a known thing, this was a social media platform, effectively. Like, it was a blogging site, effectively, but it was social media, really. It was founded in 1999 by Brad Fitzpatrick, and it very quickly developed a user base with a lot of anime fans. I really don't know how else to say it. There were like conventions that would use LiveJournal to give people updates, like at the Minute, Anime Boston had a LiveJournal account once upon a time. There were a lot of fan clubs and fan groups that had LiveJournals, and it made it really easy, like not just to connect with and like hear news about it, but also to like find other people in the community, find new fan art, find new fan fictions. And again, it's really hard to emphasize that in a time before like social media as we know it was really much of a thing, it was very much in its infancy, this was a really big deal. Like, I know some voice actors were on there also, so the idea that you could just like see what they were doing and posting about it, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
That LiveJournal drama was something else though.
Mm-hmm. But more than any other site in this panel that is like still alive today, this is the one that it feels the least alive. Like somehow even next to Toonzone/Anime Superhero, this is the one that feels the least alive. There have been a lot of reasons why people have left LiveJournal over the years. Everything from unpopular design decisions to like the rise of more social media platforms. There was a crackdown on adult content in 2003. There was another crackdown in 2007 on anything that could be considered obscene. And then really the final nail in the coffin was 2017. The servers of the site moved to Russia, which meant that LiveJournal was now beholden unto Russia's censorship laws, in particular their anti-LGBTQIA+ laws. And there's really no nice way to say it. If you visit LiveJournal today, it feels like a digital ghost town. It feels like a digital ghost town. It's my understanding that Russian LiveJournal is poppin', but English language LiveJournal it's a digital ghost town. I don't have a nicer way to say it, unfortunately.
It's just kind of there.
It's just kind of there.
Which is kind of amazing considering that this was popular enough in its heyday that it could actually, they were committed a waiting list. Like, there were actually alternatives that popped up, like Dead Journal, Blurdy, and things like that, that would service the need because people couldn't sign up for LiveJournal. All right, and next slide, we are going to have audio. So, because it's a new millennium, and here we go. Now let's give Mamoru Hosoda a hand for making that movie 3 times.
Good for him. Oh boy. Be honest, how many of us were on DeviantArt? Come on, there's no shame. We're all cringe here. We're cringe, but we're free.
We're bullshit.
So DeviantArt popped up in 2000. The information, maybe it's just me, but when I tried looking into the founding of DeviantArt, I found like a lot of conflicting information and some unclear details. But it's my understanding that it was founded in 2002 by Angelo Satira, I'm very sorry if I don't pronounce any of these names right, Scott Jarkoff, Matthew Stevens, and the D-Music Network. So originally, DeviantArt was being used for people to post like their custom computer stuff, right? But then over time, it grew into more of just a general art hosting pub. An art hosting pub, an art posting hub. It's 9:30 in the morning. I haven't had enough caffeine yet.
That's our motto today.
Yeah, I'm running off of adrenaline right now. But anyway. So yeah, I say eventually, very soon it became a very general, just like art posting hub, and such was its growth that by 2003 it had its 1 millionth deviation, a deviation being their word effectively for a piece of content, a fan fiction, a picture of your cosplay, a piece of fan art, you know, really just about anything, honestly. And it's kind of like fanfiction.net, really, where it was just like the convenience of having all of that in one place, one centralized location, that you could comment on stuff, that you could favorite stuff, that you could, you know, connect with other artists or other fans. Really made DeviantArt stand out early on into its time. It has today lost, obviously, a lot of users to stuff like modern social media. But of all the still alive sites that we talk about in this panel, this one is without a doubt the most active still. Like, it still has like people who get on there regularly because, especially with a certain bird site that will not be named, so constantly working against artists, it is still, for many people, just the most convenient way of having a gallery online of their art that people can see. DeviantArt is in fact so alive that, and I only learned this recently, it's currently involved in a lawsuit. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand all the details, so forgive me that I'm just going to hyper condense it, but it's my understanding that it is a group of some artists who are suing some AI art generators, and I say generators in air quotation marks because they scrape work from other artists. They're not generators, they're imitators. And DeviantArt has been dabbling in creating one, I guess. I only recently learned this, and it's 9:30 in the morning and I'm running off of adrenaline and 2 hours of sleep.
I just call them tech bro pit crews.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's a thing that's going on right now. That's how alive DeviantArt is. I attached a picture at the top. The art is by Dat Cravat, and the pictures are from, I believe it's 2012, 2018, and 2021. And I wanted to use this picture because I thought it was a very good representation of how, like, for a lot of people, like a lot of artists today, like, one of the things that made DeviantArt so cool back in the day was that there were a lot of like professionals on there, and there were a lot of like industry professionals on there as well that you could follow and just look at their art. And we're getting to a point today where now a lot of professionals openly say like, yeah, I got my start posting on DeviantArt, drawing there since I was 12. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, no, it really is. Speaking of sites that are really cool, we now get on to AnimeMusicVideos.org or AMVorg. So this one was founded in 2000 by Chris McCormick, aka Fade, in 2000. So in 2000, streaming sites, the way we know them, they weren't really much of a thing. YouTube certainly didn't exist. And AMVs were a thing. People were making them, they were showing them at cons, they were putting them on like fan sub like tapes and discs, maybe not discs in 2000, but you get the point. Like people were sharing AMVs around, but there wasn't really a place that you could watch them, that you could talk about them until AMVorg, which let you post the AMV on the site and then others could download it, which is how they were able to let people watch AMVs, even though this is a time before, again, streaming sites as we know them don't really exist. And that made AMVorg, for a long time, it was the place to find and learn about all things AMV. And I say for a long time because obviously things did start taking a turn in 2005 and 6 when YouTube hit the scene and YouTube got super huge, super fast. And in fact, Fade was not a super huge fan of YouTube at the get-go in like 2005, 2006, because he worried that, so quick YouTube history lesson is that, you know, in YouTube's early days, quite contrary to the way they are now, they were very hands-off about copyright content. It was very like, if someone reports a problem, like if a rights holder reports a problem, we'll do something, but, you know, they turned a blind eye to it, effectively. And then Viacom sued them. There were a few other parties who got videos removed before that happened, but suffice to say, Viacom sued them. It was a very big back and forth legal battle for a long time, but I digress. Point is, in YouTube's early days, they were very hands-off about copyrighted content, and Fade was very worried about that. He was, there are like old forum posts where he expresses worry that it's gonna bite YouTube in the butt and that it might spell consequences for the AMV community at large. And to be fair, he was kind of right. You know, obviously copyright on YouTube is, it's a thing. It's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to get into. But his worry, though, it's hard to blame him for feeling worried, though, because here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact that you can tell all your friends today and get a good chuckle out of them. Of course he was worried because just a few years earlier, well, I say a few years, a year earlier, in 2005, AMVorg got a cease and desist from Wind Up Records for a bunch of Evanescence, Seether, and Creed AMVs that were on the site. And I say Evanescence, Seether, and Creed, but like, let's be honest, it was probably like 95% Evanescence. Specifically, I can almost guarantee you they were all Bring Me to Life, and the ones that weren't Bring Me to Life were My Immortal. I can almost guarantee it. We don't know how many AMVs were removed because of this cease and desist. ANN estimated that there were like around 2,000, which either way is still a lot. That is a lot of AMVs. I don't know if they still don't allow Evanescence, Seether, and Creed. But in 2005, they got a cease and desist. So that's a funny thing. Another funny thing, Samantha here is actually one of two people who actually owns an archive of the site.
Yes, I do. That's a funny story because a few years ago, before the the whole world became a
Dumpster fire.
yeah, that's the best way of putting it. A friend of mine, Ashley Hacker, pointed something out to me and said, "Hey Sam, look at this." I look. She pointed me to an eBay listing. It was a listing for a signed copy of the AMV.org archive that was given out as a raffle prize for their big anniversary in 2015. It was only given out to one person who was looking to offload it. So she said, "All right, look, only one of these exists. I'm not sure how long AMV.org is going to be around. We need to pull this thing down, make backups, and start archiving this immediately." I said, "You know what? I agree." So we both put in a bid for, I want to say, $400 or $500 US, and prayed for the best, and we actually came out winning. Sure see the drive about 3 weeks later. I finally got my copy about 6 months ago, just because, again, global pandemic. So that slowed a lot of things down. But for a time, international shipping stopped. Then life. Then, but yeah, I have the AMV.org archive that I'm just starting to dive into. In a portable hard drive on my bookcase.
All right, next up we got cosplay. Oh,
Is that being uploaded to archive.org?
It will be when I'm all set.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, everything will be going up to archive.org once it's set because they are the future. I'll be honest. They are the best gatekeepers of things, best stewards of things like that, and we pray for the best on them in their coming court cases.
we have nothing but love and support for archive.org in this house.
Exactly. In this house, we love and respect the archive.
Hell yeah, we do. So next up, we got cosplay.com, which was founded in 2000 by cosplay photographer Kyle Johnson. The name, I mean, it says it all on the tin. It was a site where you could post your pictures of cosplay, you could talk about crafting, you could talk about cons, just anything even tangentially related to cosplay, you could talk about it here. And while this was not the only such site that was around at the time, people had been posting their cosplay pictures on places like DeviantArt, obviously, and there were other sites like AC Paradise where people were also doing stuff like this. Cosplay.com, nonetheless, very early on was able to cement itself as the largest. In 2010, ANN estimated that the site had over 210,000 members and over 2 million user-submitted photos. And a big part of cosplay.com's popularity was its forums, which are just a treasure trove of crafting information, because especially in the 2000s, this is before pre-made costumes like for anime cosplay in the West are really much of a thing, and your best / maybe even only option for a wig store was eBay, and cheap wigs are cheap. I don't really know how much simpler I can say it. It was a gamble. It was a gamble.
Usually you lost that gamble.
Yeah, usually, more often than not. So yeah, this is to say that those forums, even looking back on it today, they have an absolute wealth of craft knowledge, of sewing knowledge and tips. It's very cool to look back on. I have some photos on here showing an example. The cosplayer in the photos is Diana Sorrell. Very talented, very, very talented. And that brings us to our last one, Gaia Online. Y'all know I had to dress for this panel today. Oh. Y'all know I had to dress for success today. So Gaia Online was founded in 2003. It was originally called Go Gaia, and it was founded by Derek Liu, Longvo, and Josh Gainsborough. Originally, Go Gaia was basically an anime forum and link list, but it had these really cute avatars that you could dress up with items in the in-game shop which you use like in-game or in-site, I think is more accurate, in-site currency for. So they had like their own economy going, and the site, despite having astoundingly limited marketing in its early days, the site grew super quickly. And in fact, that's actually how real life money entered their economy, because their servers, they couldn't keep up with the costs. So they had to ask for donations, and the people who donated got a special item, and then they started making that a monthly thing, like you give us $250 and we'll give you a special item that you can't buy in the shops. And for a while, the economy was fine. They hired economists at one point, and things were pretty stable. Things were pretty cool. It was a popular anime forum. Time called it one of the best, one of the 50 best websites of 2008. For a while, things were awesome. And then in the early and mid 2010s, it all went downhill. They went under new ownership, and the leadership was just astoundingly awful, and the economy very famously got destroyed to the extent that it is literally, not hyperbolically, literally in a textbook. I have it up there. Virtual Economy Design and Analysis by Vili Ladonvirta and Edward Castronova by the MIT Press in 2014. It's astounding. Now, the site did eventually leave those terrible owners' hands. Good old, Voldemort, that's what they called him. Well, yeah, because people complained about him, and then he made this rule where it's like, you can't name our names in the forum. It was really weird, and if you want more details, I have a business card up here with my channel on it, and I have a whole video about it.
It's a good video, watch the video.
Oh, thank you. But in the meantime, so I gotta ask y'all, how many, I said earlier that, they introduced real money into the site's economy pretty early on, and the main way you did that was donating $250. I think it was $250. I could be remembering that number wrong. It's the morning. But you donated money for a special item, and then you got it. But the other way you could get special items was through Gaia Cash, which you could buy on gift cards. And y'all, I need to tell you something. Earlier this week, I went on eBay, and I found someone selling a bunch of ones. They don't work anymore. I'm told they don't work anymore. I haven't tested them. From like 2000 old. 2000 old. Point is, someone was selling these on eBay, and I got them for $6. Who wanted one of these back in the day but were too broke? Who wanted one? Come up here. First come, first serve. First come, first serve. I mean it. I don't know if they work anymore. Y'all can find out if you want, or just keep them as a souvenir.
I can finally get those fancy clothes for my avatar.
Oh yeah, I got two more. Who just wants them just cause? You'll be the coolest looking kids on the Gaia Online block. The site is still around today. It does still have a community. It is still active. I'm not going to say that the site is without its issues, but it's still around. It's still kicking. It's hanging in there. It's hanging in there.
It's there.
It's there.
And that brings us to the end of the panel.
And that brings us to the end of the panel.